it now. Good? Excellent, thank you. Okay, we're going to start with check-in tonight, and then after check-in, I've had a request for an executive session and check-in. So after check-in, we'll break for an executive session. I'm not sure how long it'll last, but we'll worry about that later. So we'd like to start check-in. Rob, can you give the mic?
Hi, Happy New Year, everyone. I am Rob. I am well. Had better days, but I'm okay. I have 7 o'clock time constraint. We have Amy missing, but Susan Millay is here today filling in for her. Jessica Duncan is out. And I think, is that it from our team? I think so. No elephants, and expectation is to make progress.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Heather Leonard. I'm doing well today. I don't have any time constraints outside of our 7 o'clock. The missing's already been noted. I don't have any elephants, and I'll go with make progress as well.
Good evening, Kimberly Hutchins. I'm good, no time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, and make progress.
Good evening, I'm Susan Millay, and I'm filling in for Amy Desamore this evening. Doing well, no time constraints, and no elephants, and I'll go with make progress as well.
Hi, I'm Rachel Gould. I'm well, no time constraints, and make some progress.
Good afternoon, I'm Ben Osman. I am good, I have no time constraints, missing's noted, no elephants, and expectations to make progress.
I'm Shanna Johnston. I'm doing okay. No time constraints. Missing has been noticed. I can't even talk. Elephants, none, and expectations are to make progress.
Good afternoon, I'm Bonnie, I'm well, no time constraints except for our 7 o'clock end time. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and expectations to make progress.
Mike Gaywood, I'm doing okay. I have no time constraints, no elephants, and expectations are to make progress.
Hi, I'm Suzette Rivera. I'm doing well. No time constraints. Missing has been noted. No elephants, and my expectations are to make progress.
All right, thank you.
Hello, I'm Christine Schroed. I'm doing well tonight. Happy New Year to everybody. I do not have any elephants. My goal and expectation is to make progress. Missing, I'm sure, have been noted, and I think that's it. Thanks.
I'm Carl, doing okay. No time constraints. Missing has been noted. No elephants. Expectations to make progress.
Now you can start. Sorry. I'm Will Rothenberg. I'm Director of Compensation and Labor Relations. I'm doing well. No time constraints. Missing so far have been noted. I see there are a couple on the TALC end, but I can't read their names. No elephants. Expectation. Orange circles.
Now we can turn it around.
All right, good evening. My name is Kurt Fazone. I'm fine. I'm Chief Negotiator for TALC. Time constraints, 7 o'clock. Who's missing? So, see, we're missing Tina Starrett, LaShonda Hutchins Colon, Jill Castellano. I believe Lewis Fisher will be a little late, and we're missing Mario Dorstal as well. Oh, and Elizabeth Peterson. That was a lot of missing. What's next? No elephants, expectations, make progress.
Thank you.
Hi there, everybody. I'm Kevin Daly. I'm the president of the TALC. I'm fine. No time constraints. Kurt was great in getting all the missings. No elephants, and expectation is to make progress, please.
Hello, I am Anna Witten. I am a third grade teacher at Colonial Elementary as well as the TALC secretary. I am doing well. I have no time constraints. The missing has been noted, no elephants, and my expectation is to make progress.
Good evening, my name is Samantha Howard. I'm a PCT at Harns Marsh Middle School. I'm doing fine. No time constraints, missing has been noted, no elephants, and I'd also like to make progress.
Good evening, my name is Shay Pearson. I am a TESI coordinator at Island Coast High School. I'm also the TALC treasurer. I'm doing well. I have no time constraints. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and I'd like to make progress.
Hello, my name is Amy Johnson. I am a teacher at Mariner Middle School. I am tired. I think it's part of life anymore. Missing has already been noted. I have no time constraints other than 7. No elephants, and expectations are to make progress.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. My name is Iris Grimaldi. I'm a school social worker currently assigned to Lehigh Senior High School. I have no time constraints. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and my expectations are to make progress.
Good evening, my name is Bob Scapatola. I teach mathematics at Three Oaks Middle School, and I'm also on the executive board for TALC. And I'm doing fine. No time constraints. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and my expectations are to make progress, please.
Hi, I'm Tara Sherman, school counselor at Raymond C. Page Elementary. I'm doing great. No time constraints. Missing is noted, no elephants, and my expectation is to make progress.
All right, thank you, everyone. As I mentioned, there was a request to have an executive session before we start this evening. So 10 minutes, I'm seeing. All right, so where would you gentlemen like to go? Super. All right, see you in 10 minutes. back together. And
It's happened one time.
those of you who are just in the executive session, do you have anything to share?
Could be possible.
Rob or?
Kevin said it eloquently. I'll let you say
Kevin, you said it eloquently, so.
The meeting was essentially charting a progressive way forward from here, related to the things we still have to talk about.
Okay. And I understand one of the things we still need to talk about is class coverage. And we hope to be able to get one of those orange circles that Will talked about earlier. That's my understanding correctly? All right, so who wants to start? Kevin, do you want to?
I'm going to say that.
Okay.
Now, I know we have two things left to discuss. One is any type of retroactivity on the class coverage. The other item is, because we don't have minutes from the December 6th bargaining session or the one right before that, October 25th or whenever that was, or November 8th, excuse me. It appears that we were discussing, there was an option 6 on the table about if someone was doing prep, that they were paid for 1 hour at their hourly rate. And I think that's where we left off, is that correct?
All right, do we need to pull those options out?
That may be best, yes.
Okay, oh, Elizabeth is already doing that. Is there anything we can continue discussing or another option while we're pulling those options out? You said it was from December 8th and
It was December 6th, I believe, option 6.
December 6th. So there should be other options from December 6th.
You know what, Donna, the option may have been a carryover from a previous meeting, but it was labeled option 6.
Okay, well, Amy rewrote it up here anyway, according to what it said, so we'll just get the other options, because I believe we had a bunch of options up there. Oh, that's 17, I thought.
For a lot.
Call it a top dozen, John? All right, well, while we're waiting, we could have Louis check in. He wasn't here when we did our original check-in. Would you like to check in?
Sure.
The check-in?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Louis Fisher. I'm the Director of Bands at Gateway High School. I'm doing great. Glad to be back in school. I have no time constraints. I was missing for a little bit, I guess. I have no elephants, and expectations is to get things done and finish on time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, search is still on. All right, we found something for, they're gonna bring it over to you, see if it's, what you remember. But it's on December 1st.
Yeah. The only difference is that there was discussion after this about, there was discussion on the 6th about tying this to an instructional vacancy. and sunsetting with Esser.
Right. That's not on there? Something about Esther's at the bottom, isn't it?
Yeah, it says sunset and that's on the bottom of it.
We have an option also that we drafted language right after this, or so I can put it up on the screen here.
Okay. That would be great.
Okay.
Okay.
Someone's giving us money. Option generate an employee getting paid for the $375 with another employee getting that. So, without knowing
yes, please.
you could be doing all of that.
So this is language that we drafted following that last session or immediately after it.
Can everybody see that, or would you like it read to you?
I can do that. Expand.
Can you make it bigger, Rob? Yeah, sure. We're on the district vision plan.
Is this in your way?
Nope.
That's right.
That's it?
That means for me. Second for you guys.
Everybody over here, see it? Okay.
There you go.
Rob, is this a new option or is this part of option 6?
I'm not sure who put option 6 up there. Was it us or TALC? I think it was TALC, so it's obviously new.
Okay.
Donna, I believe we're on option number 18.
Option 8.
Not that we're counting.
All right, they managed to find option 6 and we're writing option 18. Do we need all other options or is this it? Okay.
If we could eventually print the copy and stick that on here rather than.
Yes. All right, any questions or need any clarification about option 18? Anna? Would somebody pass the mic to Anna, please? Thank you.
So I have just two separate questions. One of them about the 30 days. I just was curious where that requirement came from. Would that 30 days be a 30 calendar day, like from a January 1st to a January 31st? Would it be 30 instructional days? And then my second question would be, we had briefly, I have in my notes from the 6th, talked about if you were receiving this funding, that you were ineligible to receive the other classroom coverage money, if that makes sense. Okay, those are my questions.
All right.
So the first question is 30 days is under school board policy constitutes a leave of absence. That's why we chose 30 days. And it's 30 calendar days. The other question about, you can't get both, essentially. That's what that last clause refers to.
Is that for the same gig? You know what I mean? Like, I could theoretically be doing this and then also covering the teacher down the hall. So is that for the same, you know what I'm just trying to, the same absence? So I'm providing support for Anna, but then Kerr's out, and in my planning period, I cover for Kerr.
Yeah,
So
no, I think those are two different assignments.
Okay, all right, yep, just wanted, yeah, that's what I thought too. That's what I hoped, all right.
Okay, Sam, you have a question?
With the 30 days, and I understand the leave of absence, and it's not really that I don't really have necessarily an issue, but more of a consideration. If a teacher is assigned to a vacancy, even if it's like 2 weeks, and they've been assigned to be putting in those grades, that teachers are contractually put like a grade per week. That's, I guess, my question. Did I miss that? Is that in there?
I think the first one deals with vacancy. So vacancy happens until filled. The other language is 30 days.
Or, okay, got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? All right, if there are no other questions or clarifications on option 18, where do we want to go?
Do we need a couple minutes? Do we need a couple minutes? Good, no? Okay. Apparently we're good.
Apparently. So, again, Rob?
I mean, dare I say, can we test option 18?
Freedom of speech.
Yes, we can test option 18. No one else seems to have any questions, so as per your request, can I see hands about option 8, thumbs about option 18? All right, option 18, on an orange circle. Is there anything else on classroom coverage that we need to address? George?
I think the only other thing in our mind is retroactivity. So I know that there have been a number of employees, probably, I can't say everybody because there will be one who didn't, but there were a large number of employees who provided coverage in the last, I can't even say semester because we're still in first semester. So, the tail end of 2021. So we'd like to discuss some way to compensate those folks, and I think we have some ideas on this side of the table.
Okay, so we have more options, but Rob, do you want to?
No, I want to concur with Kerr. I know from the principals, there's a desire to get folks paid that have been providing coverage. So I think there's a mutual interest in trying to resolve this issue.
All right, so do we have any options about retroactivity? Sure?
Yeah, sure. So the option that we would like to throw out is, and we can talk about the details, but I guess this would be option 19, is a $4,000 one-time payment to all TALC bargaining unit personnel, to compensate for those other duties as assigned, for this last, the end of 2021, and to, as as mentioned at the previous meeting, principals want to put some money in folks' pockets, and maybe it's a good way to start off the new year as a welcome back to the school district, in the same vein.
Okay. Is there any other options, or what?
Well, I think there's some interest in providing this, obviously. We hadn't heard the number, so that's something to contemplate, obviously. But there is an interest in providing some funding. But what we're looking at with 4,000 is $23 million. So that's a significant number. And I don't want to comment on the option because that's not necessarily appropriate, although I just did, so I apologize. But I think the devil will be in the details with this because we don't know who's going to get it. When did they have to be employed by? Did they have to provide coverage or not? I know Kerr said the option says all, so we may be providing TALC members money that didn't provide coverage. There may be some equity issues there. I know we haven't done interest, but that's typically one of our interests. So this is the first time our team is seeing this. And if TALC could talk us through that figure, that might be helpful for us to hear.
All right, and any other details TALC might have in mind as well. So, Bob?
Yeah. I think there's more to this than just the class coverage. And since the whole epidemic has started up, there are teachers that are doing things above and beyond, not just necessarily covering classes, but I'm talking about, washing down desks, cleaning tables, wearing masks, making sure that all the children have masks when we had them in the beginning of the year. I'm making sure they're going down the right way of the hallways, making sure that they're not high-fiving between classes, making sure they're not hugging each other. There was a lot of things that went on above and beyond just coverage. And I think all the teachers deserve to be compensated because they may not necessarily have covered a class, but they picked it up as far as what they needed to do in order to get us to this place. And considering the $4,000 per bargaining member, you're talking $24 million, and I'm sure that that's going to be coming out of the ESSER fund, and I know that there's money there, and what better way to give out to the teachers, and just sort of like giving them an appreciation, basically, of what they've done since all of this has occurred. And I don't know any teacher that has said, I'm not going to be doing any of that, I'm not doing this. We've all kind of pulled up the big boy pants and went on and did it all. And I don't think that $4,000, to be honest with you, I think it could have been more, to be honest with you. I mean, $4,000 spread out over the amount of days and weeks and months that they've endured during this entire pandemic. And, to save $4,000, what we're saying to them is that we want to retain you, we want to keep you, we want to make sure that you don't leave. right now, that should be one of the main things that we should be focusing on is the retaining of the teachers, making sure that they're around next year. And if we don't do this, I'm afraid that, we're going to be losing some of them. And again, I just think that they deserve to be compensated.
Thanks, Bob. Sam?
One of the other things that we haven't discussed in detail, it may have come up, but with transportation delays, and I know it's at every level, but especially in certain zones, it could be almost an hour at the end of every day, additional where we need to be providing student supervision, and no teachers have been compensated for that as well.
All right. Kevin?
I will first-handedly agree it's a pile of money. But if you take the $4,000 and divide it by 90, which, is the first semester, it's only $44 a day per employee. And so when we're looking at the coverage language you've already agreed to, that's, I don't want to say it's in line, because again, it's a rather large number, but, it is $44.44 per employee per day.
Thank you. Rob?
Well, I want Bob to go. I mean, I asked them to talk around the number, so.
That's okay, Bob.
Well, I just, I guess I'm just trying to, in my head, because the district is not adverse to talking about a bonus. And I think leadership knows that. Certainly we've talked to Spalk about that. What Bob talked about was a bonus. And semantics, I guess, are semantics, what we call it, but we're talking about this under the guise of providing retroactive money for people that have provided coverage. So Sam mentioned transportation, and that's legit. I mean, that's coverage for something, I get that. And Kevin said it's $45 a day, but that means every teacher would be spending an extra hour a day providing coverage, essentially, if you do the math that way. And I'm not sure that's happening. It very well may be, but I don't know if that's happening for the justification for the $4,000. So I'm happy to hear more and listen, and I know Bob has his hand up, so.
Yeah, the coverage aspect doesn't necessarily have to pertain to covering a class. As far as coverage, when I'm saying coverage, we have covered quite a bit during the entire year. And when teachers are washing down tables between periods, they're giving up time. When teachers are outside in the halls, making sure that they go in the right way, they're giving up time. When teachers are washing down cafeteria tables and they're waiting around for buses to come out, they're giving up time. That to me is coverage. Covering their own classrooms, covering somebody else's classroom, but not necessarily teaching that classroom, but day-to-day coverage. And when I say coverage, again, I just don't mean that we're going to cover somebody else's classroom while the teacher is out. We're doing coverage as far as covering things that need to be done during the course of the day.
All right, thank you. Will?
I think that some of what you're referring to and what Sam referred to and Anna came up also in SPALC bargaining where people were saying, because we're short-staffed at dismissal, people are waiting in the cafe while, we get kids loaded up into cars and kind of standing in until after-school programs start, regardless of whether they're someone who's scheduled to work the after-school program. I guess, my question, and just for clarification, I know that there's obviously a difference in how much of that has been going on in the past, year and a half, 2 years almost now. How much of a difference would you say there has been as a result of some of the COVID stuff as compared to a normal year where you might have that day where buses are late? Is it, that was something that would happen once a month and now it's happening every single day? Is it normally when they were late, 15, 20 minutes and now it's an hour? I guess, again, just trying to help better, understand kind of the scope or the scale of what it is that you're describing and how it varies from a normal, school year without a global pandemic.
Anybody? Anna?
So I can only talk about my own experiences, and I don't necessarily always like to do that here at the bargaining table because it's not about me. But I will say that there has been an increase 100% with late buses. We are covering, it's not just one bus. On a standard since the beginning of the year, there is 1 or 2 buses that are late about every day. But the beginning of the year, and even now that we're back to school and things are high again, it's 5, 6 buses out of 13 that are there. Now I don't typically stay very late, especially like today we were missing 6 buses, but I came here. I will say that the ESE teacher was out, and I have ESE students in my room. She was out for 3 weeks. I had to provide coverage, and I call it coverage. I had to make sure that all of my ESE students' goals and things were being met because it's a legal document. I needed to make sure that they were still, I found a way to implement that into my room, but it's, teachers are out, the custodians, we were down to 2 custodians in the whole school. They would come in, wash the bathrooms, take the trash out, and that was it. If you wanted your floor clean, you had to figure out a way to get it done. And I had seen some classrooms and was like, my goodness, that's super messy. But the custodians are out, the bus drivers are out. We're down, all in the cafeteria, we're short duty. I'm out there on a daily basis tying up trash bags and putting it into the bin and putting new trash in just so we can clean our tables up at lunchtime. I mean, there's a variety of different things that we are all covering due to being short-staffed right now. It's not anything that I have ever seen in the 10 years that I've been teaching, except for this year.
Okay.
Another thing that I would like to bring up is the fact that over the course of the several months during COVID, since the beginning of the year, we've had a lot of students that have been absent. And I don't know how many teachers here at the bargaining table here, but I know that others, probably everybody here at the table, when a student is absent because of COVID or quarantined or whatever, we are getting emails from them or their parents. What can I do to help my child so they don't fall behind? And it could be 7:30 at night, 9 o'clock at night, and teachers are responding back to those students, giving them an assignment, going on the Google Classroom, letting them know what to do, talking to their parents on the phone, emailing the parents. So when you start to add up all of those minutes, I guarantee it's going to be more than the $43 a day. And basically, to be honest with you, this $4,000 is a token of appreciation for what every single teacher in the district has done. And all the things that we're mentioning here, all the things that the teachers have gone above and beyond, administrators too, all comes under the category of a token of appreciation and saying, thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for doing what you're doing to keep these kids ahead so that they're not falling behind. And report cards are coming up in a couple of weeks. I've had students, and I know all the teachers here at the bargaining table have had students that have been out for 2 weeks. How do you do a report card with them? Do you grade them on what they've done? And then say, okay, I'm sorry, you can't bring your grade up because you've been quarantined for 2 weeks and I have no more grades for you? These are all the things that we have to come under consideration with. And I don't think that we can put down on this, on this board over here, all the things that the teachers have done. And I think if we did, we'd be here probably until April or May. And right now, like I said, a token of appreciation to say thank you for what you have done. We know that you've done above and beyond what you normally would have done. And when I mentioned about the fact that the teachers are checking their emails at night, we all are. I'm getting emails at 9:30 at night. How do you say no to a child who says, I don't understand how to do the Pythagorean theorem because I wasn't there for 3 days? How do you say, I'm sorry, you can't do it? I'm going to grade you on this. You can't do it. And so right now, these are the things that we're all facing right now. Those emails and those contacts are after the school day is over. Or in the morning, I'm getting emails 6:30, 7 o'clock, some of you guys are too here. My child's going to be out today. What do I need to do for the day so that my child doesn't get behind? So what do? Not do it at 7 o'clock in the morning? No, we do it at 7 o'clock in the morning. We don't wait until we get to school at 8:45. And those are the things that we all have to consider doing. It's not just during that 7.5 hour day that we're doing things. It's above and beyond that cannot be recorded. I can't document all this. And if we want to go back to August and start going through all the times that we've done, that would be a horror show. So when we're talking about retroactive would be a horror show trying to figure out what all of us have done since August of this year. And we cannot document it all. And you guys all know, everybody here at the table knows what everybody has done this year. And again, we can't sit down and write down every single thing that we've done. We can't. We can't possibly do that. And so we've heard from here, we've heard from the people here at the table, and we've given our version of what we're doing. And to be honest with you, I think we've justified it.
You're right, Bob.
Hi. So to piggyback on what Bob said, we've had, as a social worker coming from a special instructional perspective, we've had a severe increase in students who are absent. Truancy has skyrocketed with the addition of increased anxiety with our students. We're having Baker Acts, 4, 5, 6 Baker Acts in a day. It's taken a toll on our students and our families. And part of our work as social workers is going out there to the homes, educating parents, trying to reduce their anxieties about COVID. Many of the families don't want to send their kids to school and are fearful that their children are going to come home and infect other family members. So we spend a lot of time trying to reduce those anxieties with families. We have, as social workers, we've always had a significant amount of truancy in the district, but now it's overwhelming for everyone. It's overwhelming for the staff, it's overwhelming for the families. The families don't want their children to be out, but they're fearful, and that's legitimate. And I think that the efforts they're insurmountable right now. They've just gotten to a degree that is overwhelming for everyone. And I think that, to Bob's point, that is something that people need to be compensated for.
All right, thank you. Good.
And one of the other things that probably failed to be mentioned was in the example that Anna gave as far as doing trash in the cafeteria to keep the cafeteria clean. That's something that's taken away from time that is contractually obligated to the teacher for, let's say, their lunch. And when you only get 20, 25 minutes for lunch, but you're pulling lunch duty, what happens then. And also to recognize too that when we're answering those emails or those phone calls at all times of the day and night, and even on the weekends, that's time that we're giving to that student, but taken away from our own families. So just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you. Anybody else have information to provide? Kurt?
Yeah, just one thing. I don't really have much else to add. I mean, my colleagues said it better than I ever could, but I'm really thinking about retention and recruitment. I mean, we have people handing their keys to their principals on a Tuesday. That never used to happen. I was representing a member, and the principal was telling me a story afterwards that she was begging a couple of teachers to stay until next Friday, just so that they could finish the semester. It's hard out there. It's an impossible task. And when we have some other counties, I'm looking at Hendry County, they negotiated using ESSER funds to support recruitment and retention, a $2,500 payment per teacher. And that's not, I guess we're coupling some sort of retroactivity for jobs done with this as well and conflating the two, but I think that's a pretty fair figure. So I can give some other examples of some other counties, but just the one right to the east of us, I thought was a good one to bring in.
Yeah, and I appreciate everything everybody said. I mean, we're bargaining during unprecedented times, obviously. We need a caucus, so.
All right.
We'll go to.
Okay.
I have a question before you all go. So as you can see, Jill is not here, and the allegation has been made that when Jill's not here, snacks aren't here, even though they sit in my office. So can we have some snacks?
Yes, of course. Help yourself.
Start with the order. Oh, sorry.
Oh, geez, sorry. Caucus report is loud. We spoke at length about the $4,000 option and discussed the ins and outs of that and the what's and the wherefores, and don't have an additional option at this point, but have some additional comments after they let us know. You caucused, right, TALC?
Yes.
Kind of, sort of. All right, after they let us know, then I'll.
Okay. All right, report first.
Yeah, sure. We had a similar conversation, very robust. It centered around, and correct me if I'm wrong, team, the question, and I can't remember who asked, how is it different this year from years past? And I mean, we've had more Baker Acts and threat assessments than ever before, more school threats. Teachers have kids that are coming in 30 minutes late every single day because of late buses that are consistently having lost instruction. There have been mental health challenges, not just with students, but with staff. Unfortunately, we've had staff members die in a building. We have kids eating meals in rooms. We have an issue with cane splits, as it is now. And so we really focused on equity and manageability, I think, in our caucus.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so here's where we're at, and I want this to be understood that this is where we're at tonight. Okay, first of all, we're missing a key member of our team, Dr. Desamores, and obviously we're talking millions of dollars. And we also recognize two things, because I think these are separate issues that have now been meshed together. One is, we recognize the necessity for retroactivity relative to classroom coverage. We recognize that. We also would like to agree tonight to be able to, in emergency fashion, implement what we've already agreed to relative to classroom coverage. So we can start paying people what we've already agreed to. The separate issue, though, is the issue of a bonus. And we have acknowledged a willingness to pay a bonus, but I don't believe we're prepared tonight to intertwine those things together, because we haven't looked at the numbers relative to how many teachers have actually been paid for classroom coverage. So I'm not sure all 6,000 teachers have provided classroom coverage, but we do recognize that all 6,000 teachers may deserve a bonus. So those issues are distinct in our mind, and we were going to talk about bonus when we got further into compensation, I believe. And we do want to recognize retroactivity for the coverage, but we need to do it in a more logical fashion, at least our team feels, than simply saying it's worth $4,000.
Okay. Anything else?
Maybe.
Okay. Any reaction from over here? You mentioned doing an emergency implementation. Sir?
I have absolutely no issues with, as we've discussed in the past, implementing what we agreed to with class coverage immediately and holding the district harmless if something happens at ratification. No issues with that.
Okay, so I don't know how we want to document that, because I think we need to.
I agree.
And then
that can be an option.
Right.
It could, an option that we can all approve.
Implement the classroom coverage language previously agreed to?
Beginning January 3rd.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
So yes, ma'am.
Or, I look at Kim, I don't know.
As an emergency measure, is that?
I would leave that language to Will, because I think he's dealt with the emergency. Would that be the language, Will? As an emergency measure, or?
I think the other COVID MOU or MOUs have said emergency implementation to take place immediately. I think for this, like Kurt is saying, we would want to say when immediately starts. Like, did it start at the start of the school year? Would it start at the end of this first pay period in January, 1st of February? And I just say that I don't know, second semester would be another one, which I think is a couple days out before we officially start the second semester, so that you'd have a clean starting point from that point forward. These are the rules that are in place, but that we could do that now before ratification, and we have the language that we've used before.
Okay. Merv, would something like that be okay? Or Kevin?
I think I'd have to talk with the team about what that date would be. But yes, I mean, like I said, I have no issues with immediately implementing the class coverage piece. I don't agree that that these are two distinct issues, because I think the rate at which we are losing staff and the number of positions that we have open does also constitute an emergency. And at least in, before the end of the, I almost said school year, before the end of the calendar year, we had spoken in labor management about various different ways to reward loyalty to the district, retention, recruit new teachers. And I think that I keep going back to manageability. I think this is a whole lot more manageable than going back and trying to find. I don't even know how many employees actually provide the coverage. I'm not sure how. I don't know what type of that may be a full-time job in and of itself. For someone to tabulate and pay those out. So just in my mind, I don't think it's illogical to kind of put these two issues together. Yes.
Yeah, I think we can fairly readily get the number of people that have provided coverage, number of teachers. I think we can obtain that fairly readily. I mean, not right now or tonight, but the other thing is the semester starts on the 12th, so we would ask, that's next Wednesday. I mean, I guess an option is to implement the new language on 1/12/22.
Okay, we got that down. Anna?
I just wanted to point out, that it was commented, we could get that information relatively easily. We have school sites and staff members that staff members that have a hard time getting paid under the current classroom language. I have one school site, teacher is not a member, comes to me every morning at the gym. I tell her how to advocate for herself. Her school site, they're not paying out their splits currently. I know staff members that have essentially had to go back and forth with their principal over the term friendly coverage. So we have a issue with the current language. I think that it's going to be difficult to really get the numbers even just to August forward.
We acknowledge that there is inaccurate data relative to elementary schools. We will acknowledge that. I mean, I think Shanna supports that premise, so we acknowledge that. But we do have the numbers of who has received it. We get you, though. I understand what you're saying.
Kevin?
And so we also, moving forward, we kind of opened the idea of coverage to a separate set of employees that hadn't been included before. And so I think if we talk retroactively, I think it would be in our interest of equity to include them retroactively until implementation date of the new stuff. But I think records on when those people covered might also be difficult to assess.
So, and Dr. Destmore's not being here presents its own issue for us. So I would ask if we have the agreement on the current issue, which is implementing what we already agreed to and the date. If we could agree to that, I would ask if we could table this issue of retroactivity until we can get more information for ourselves. And hopefully have Dr. Destmore's back at the table.
I'm going to have them put that 2 minutes to that, and then option 21, table, until the next meeting, it's certain when the January 18th.
I'm sorry, Don?
I said I'm having her put up option 21 to table discussion on retroactivity to a date certain, which would be January 18th, which is the next TALC bargaining session. Just as an option up here, just because it was thrown out there.
So are we going?
Well,
Would that be, would that be contingent upon Amy being here on the 18th?
No.
So
It's with suddenness that we didn't expect her to be here. We expected her to be here
she's
tonight.
going to be here on the 18th?
I can't answer that, but we will have the ability to have an answer relative to this issue on that day.
Okay, that's fine, as long as we can discuss it then, even whether Amy's here or not.
Correct.
Okay.
okay. Anything else? Do we have any other options? Raw design, we ended up putting 2 more options up there.
I don't want to cut off any conversation, but I think I'd like a quick 10-minute caucus on the start date.
Okay.
Okay.
10 minutes.
We're not going to caucus.
Yeah, we discussed the option and I believe are ready to test.
Okay, option 20, 21, or both?
May I please see the options?
Absolutely.
A straw design of option 20 and 21.
Okay. Everybody get that? As far as I'm concerned, Rob? Okay. And the option test?
Table
Go ahead.
And perhaps we can have some further conversation in labor management about kind of how we're conflating these two ideas. I really, so maybe we can put that on the agenda for Wednesday of next week. Yeah, I think that's all. So, thank you.
Okay. All right, so we're asking to test option 20 and 21. Anna?
I just wanted to clarify if this makes sense, because it doesn't necessarily say that there. But if we're implementing the classroom coverage on 112, that would essentially be semester 1. So would it be like table the retroactivity for semester 1? Since we're starting it for semester 2, that we would be looking at the retroactivity for semester 1 at the next meeting.
Yeah.
And to discuss it at labor management next week.
Do we want to add the semester 1 piece?
Retroactivity until next meeting. And we'll also discuss it with the management. Yeah, okay. Oh, you got it. Okay. All right, so now we're ready to test.
Yes.
All right, 20 and 21. I see thumbs, upside down. All right, looks like we're good for 20 and 21. Thank you. All right, there's 3 orange circles tonight, Will. Oh, there's 20 and 21. All right, so we've not really completed that task yet, but we're getting closer. Hopefully on the 18th, the classroom coverage issue will be decided. And next, we're compensation. Rod?
Well, we had discussed doing snapshots.
Yes.
It's the pleasure of the group, though. I mean, it is only the second day back, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm tired, I know that, so.
I'm more comfortable with a couple of those traditional snapshots we do and all the abilities, manageability, practicability, or whatever we put up there. Yeah, snapshots are best.
All right, so you want to do snapshots now?
For compensation.
For compensation?
No, not for compensation. It's the pleasure of the group, 12, 9, a new possible PD article, 12, 8.
So,
So we hadn't discussed which articles we were going to open, but I think we had discussed which articles we intended to open. Article 8, performance evaluation, was one that we had talked about for SPALC and TALC, trying to clean up and kind of standardize language. A TBD article for professional development. And then the contract says that we would come back to discuss the proposed language for Article 12 that we, more or less tabled at the end of last year's bargaining session. And that's leave, yeah. And then I think 10 and 11 are opened every time we meet. And then I think TALC was, I don't know if you guys had pinned down, I know there were 2 or 3 articles that you were looking at, and some of the issues maybe overlapped, and so it might have been something that we'd talk about as part of one article, but would need to address language in another article. But I think that kind of catches us up on what the conversation had been in labor management.
Okay. Or,
I would be more comfortable, I'm sorry?
do you have articles to add to this list?
No, I was just going to suggest that we start with either 8 or 14, and we can be prepared to bring the articles that we're going to open on the 18th.
Okay. All right, so let's just start with Article 8. All right, Article 8. Dory, first next one.
So I think, I think I mentioned this at the last bargaining session, we had shared some proposed language around the 3 articles that the district kind of put up there, 12 being one that, again, was in there already. But for Article 8, we'd had some discussion about the NEAT process, N-E-A-T, which is notice, evidence, assistance, and time. And that's kind of what we've been using for evaluation. And so we wanted to try and have the language that's in the contract, more explicitly spell out NEAT to make it easier to follow. And also, we wanted to look at kind of alignment of SPALC and TALC contracts around some of that NEAT language. Some of the conversation took place, I want to say, March, when we first went out with COVID things and having to do a lot in a short amount of time and trying to make sure that communication out to people was clear and consistent. That's, I think, what kind of jump-started the conversation. I don't think it's a lot of real substantive changes that were in the proposed language. I think it was really just kind of comparing and contrasting best practices between SPALC and TALC contracts.
Okay.
I think that was the intention.
Anything else for Story on Article 8? All right. What about our interest?
Clarity?
Clarity. Anything else? Present?
Consistency.
Okay.
I thought Kevin was going to say manageability.
Excellent, manageability. Anything else for interest around this issue? No? Is there anything, Kurt?
Employee retention.
Anything else? Will?
This is maybe more of a TALC one than a SPALC one, and also kind of a no-brainer. There's some compliance pieces in terms of what we have to do based on state statute.
Okay. Anything else for interest? And do we need any additional information, data? We need the language that was.
We can bring the proposed draft after labor management weighs in on
it. Our team already has that draft as well.
Okay, so if you can bring the draft language or somebody the next time, or when we get to this. Any other requests for information? Okay. That's it for Article 8. We'll move on to Article 12. Now, so let Amy set up the page and we'll get it going. And this is Article Article 12. Okay, story for Article 12. I know you gave a little bit of it already.
Yeah, so we had some of this conversation the last go around at bargaining about how Article 12 is written kind of based on what is in statute and isn't real user-friendly in terms of trying to read it from a manager's perspective, an employee's perspective. Even from an HR payroll perspective, there's some ambiguity. We put together some draft language that we shared right before we had consensus on the last tentative agreement, and there were some suggested edits that I think we were supposed to go over with TALC and SPALC and come back. I think in the past, again, probably like 2 years, we've seen just about every single, weird situation that we could have never anticipated. So it's been a good test of what the limits of our current leave language are, and also some of the language, that was in there about things like family medical leave or Americans with Disabilities Act, which is, that language is in Article 5. That had never been through a pandemic. Those were laws that were passed in the 90s, and so we also had a good stress test of some of that stuff too. So hopefully we'll have some good lessons learned to share around that when we bring it back to the table.
Okay. Anything else on the story for Article 12? Interest? Oh, Kevin?
I'm going to work clarity again into this because I think the main problem with Article 12 is it's about 100 years old and it's only been added to. It's never been edited, and it's been added to by attorneys a lot. So it's difficult to make sense of what's in there. So clarity.
Okay. Any other interest? Will?
I think consistency, again, trying to align it between SPALC and TALC. Statute sets a lot of the expectations around the use of leave, and I think we try to keep things consistent among employee groups, and so if we can have the language kind of reflect the same, that would be helpful because then everyone could, have a better understanding.
Okay. Any other interest? Will?
I would say equity and manageability are also big ones.
Anything else? Will?
I'll also add Kerr's interest from before of retention. I think a clear leave policy may help people navigate it a little bit more easily and hopefully keep them around.
Okay. Sure.
I will add compliance because there are some statutory there's some compliance issues in here with Florida statutes, so.
Okay. Anything else for interest? All right, any data that you need, information? I know something was mentioned about some draft language. Okay, so maybe we need to put that down. Anything else? Will?
There might be some other related leave data. I think we would have to see what the conversation is once people see some of the draft language, but there might be some things that people would want to know, how much of this occurs, or, you know, how bad is this problem or that problem that we're trying to combat. Some of the data may not be available currently, which is one of the things that I think we were also hoping to kind of address.
Okay. Yeah, and then we can always add requests as we delve deeper.
And Will and I are on the same page with the data requests, like, you know, how many times does somebody request the day before a holiday, or what's the most missed day, and, you know, those types of things when we want to look at making decisions based on data, having some of that leave data available.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Kirk?
I'm interested to know how many employees have accrued the maximum allowed vacation hours. The number that are at use it or lose it, basically.
Will?
I think, I don't know that that would apply to a whole lot of TALC employees, but we could give you, you know, if there's 500 people, what percentage of them are at use it or lose it. The other thing, and I don't know if this would be relevant, some of the statutory references, I mean, I know Kurt had mentioned that that might be something that people want, and we can provide links or however, so that people can look at what's in the contract and what's in the statute and see where our hands are tied or not in different areas.
Okay. Anything else? All right, if nothing else, that completes the snapshot to Article 12. The other ones that were up there are Articles 10 and 11. Do we want to get into those now or wait until TALC is good?
Can we do the TBD article for professional development? Do snapshots on that?
Yeah, I'm looking at our number, that's about the other TBD. 14. Okay, Will.
So this is new contract language that we had discussed, that I think there was an interest in kind of capturing our commitment as a district to providing professional development opportunities to employees. Again, we have some proposed language. There's some statutory requirements around reporting and recording of professional development. But we wanted to capture some of that stuff, and then also there were a couple areas where I think you know, Kevin pointed out that they're kind of ripe for conversation, and I know that Dr. Martin and her team have brought this up before, like, you know, there's a voluntary training rate of $15 an hour, and then a mandatory rate. Do we really need two separate rates? You know, is the voluntary rate, which hasn't been updated in quite some time, you know, in need of an update? I think the obvious answer is yes. But I think, again, a lot of what we worked on in draft language was trying to capture and lay out, this is what professional development as a department kind of does, and what the service then that's provided to employees is, and how that looks, and where there's opportunities to get involved and participate and provide feedback and all of that.
Okay. Anything else? Kevin?
And I think for me, some of it is, if we continue to have the two rates, kind of defining what is mandatory training. Because, you know, I have the idea that if I'm an ESE teacher and we're using a computerized IEP program, I probably need to take the training, and that's probably essential to do my job, therefore it would be mandatory. And so And I think also we need to talk about kind of what, and I don't know if it belongs here or somewhere else, but what a stipend buys you. There are a lot of teachers who are asked to do several things beyond contract, and an administrator will go, well, you get a stipend for that. And at some point, I think we need to figure out kind of what a stipend buys and what a stipend is for, and this may be the place for it, or it may be somewhere else. But the idea that I can ask you to do whatever I need you to do and not pay you because you get an $800 stipend is probably a day whose time has come, so.
All right, Will?
Another kind of snapshot, maybe a little bit piece of the story. I know that in terms of professional development, this is something that TALC and SPALC have both expressed an interest in. We've had conversations in Career Ladder Committee and other places about micro-credentialing and more involvement and opportunities coming up, I think, through FEA maybe to collaborate with the district and to share out some of the things that professional development in our district already does because there's a lot of collaboration and support there.
Okay. Anything else with Story on professional development?
I think Kevin said that professional development is his second favorite department within HR, behind comp and labor, but.
No comment.
I think all departments, I love the departments like I love my children. I really can't pick a favorite. Or we can go with what I really say, which is my oldest daughter is the favorite because she lives the furthest away and doesn't ask for money anymore, so.
Okay, our interest for looking into this. Go ahead, Will.
I think retention and support for employees.
Anything else? Kevin?
I think, and I'm not sure how to really phrase this, but the idea that it matters. You know what I mean? Like, we're committed to professional development. It's in the contract that the support matters, and the district is putting their kind of money where their mouth is by committing language to deal with professional development. Because, you know, there's, with the career ladder commitment we have, a lot of the employees have to do so many hours when they get on the second level, and it's always needed for research. So the idea that an employee can go somewhere and it's spelled out what covers what and all this other stuff is probably a good thing around, you know, just a commitment to the idea.
Okay.
I think this would be an interest, employee participation. If you want more participation, maybe putting a few things on the table that would draw people to want to do more.
Okay? Yes?
Probably the most important thing is student achievement.
Okay. Anything else? All right, are we going to need, or do we know of any type of data we're going to need for this? Well,
We have the proposed language that again we can share out if we haven't already. I know there were a couple other places in the contract. I think that there's maybe like some references to things that are professional development related. And so we can kind of go back and try and figure out what those articles are so that if there's an impact to other pieces, we can identify and address that as well.
okay. Kelly?
The data I need is Dr. Martin, so if we can get Dr. Martin here on the night we're talking about this, because she can pretty much answer any question any of us have, kind of off the cuff.
Okay. Will?
I would agree with that. I think on like a personal note, it was fun to sit with Amy and Dr. Martin and kind of brainstorm and come up with some of this language. They were really good at, you know, I think to summarize like what Kevin was saying, job embedded, meaningful professional development. You know, they were like real quick to come up with what the phrases were that everyone was kind of grasping at.
Anything else? Any other interest? Any other data? All right, we've done 4 snapshots now? 3. And we have, up there listed with still Articles 10 and 11. And TALC is going to bring their articles back on the 18th. So do we want to jump into 10 and or 11, or do we want to, it's 6:39, and do we want to call it an evening? Kevin?
I think we only have one more date on the calendar, and that's the 18th, so I think we need to figure out if we're going back to every other Monday on the 18th, and then I think we call it a night, because it's been a day, right?
It's not easy the first week back.
Year's over.
It's
been a year.
Already?
Already.
4 days.
So we have the 18th is the next TALC one. And I believe the 24th.
The spell, yes. So the 31st is open.
So if we go back to every other Monday, that would be the 31st. Anybody have a problem with the 31st?
No.
Okay. And that would then bring us into February. And Monday, that would be next one would be February 14th, Valentine's Day.
That's probably a bad night for those of us who are married and dating.
Okay.
I don't know what child support is, but I know what I make.
I do it on the 15th then?
So we'll do it on the 15th?
The Ides of March.
This is in February.
The 15th.
The Ides of February.
Correct. Spring training, if there is any.
There is spring training. So 15th, okay with everybody?
Yes.
All right, do we need to go further? The next Monday in February would be
28th.
28th. Do you want to go to the 28th?
I think so. If we don't need it, we don't need it. But
Okay. So we'll go the 28th as well. So that gives us 3 additional dates from what we had. That's good? All right. Is that good? Enjoy the rest of your week.
Donna, just real quick.
Kurt?
It's, how can we have minutes prior to, hang on, I'm sorry. So we meet again on the 18th.
Correct.
Can we have minutes for the sessions that we have yet to have minutes for by Thursday the 13th?
I'm seeing a thumbs up.
see,
Can we get that circled in orange and test that one?
all of Will's staff is in the room, so.
And Will is well on his way to meeting the SMART goal that I propose for him if he does this.
All right. Anything else for this evening? Nothing. With that, have a good rest of your evening, everybody, and we'll see you on the 18th.